It's Slowpoke versus Slowpoke this week, as we're taking on none other than the Salt Lake City Slowpokes. Not only do my channel and their team have the same mascot, but we actually both have Slowpoke on our rosters. Of course, I have Cantonian Slowpoke, and they, with the pick immediately before it, took Galarian Slowpoke. See the rest of their team here. This layout is not my best work, but they've got Incineroar, Glastrier, Sneasler, Corviknight, Chestnut, Poltegeist, Thwackey, Weavile, Camerupt, and Electivire, along with their Slowpoke. So it's an interesting team. A few things have jumped out at me as I've gone over it. First of all, they have a strong Trick Room mode in everything except the Trick Room setters, which are limited to Slowpoke and Poltegeist, unless I've missed something. Those are not the greatest Trick Room setters out there, but they're definitely capable of getting it up. And after that point, they have some very strong, very slow attackers in Glastrier, Camerupt, potentially even Chestnut. Glastrier, I think, needs no introduction, and I've watched some of their replays where Camerupt put in work with Eruption. So, denying the Trick Room or learning to play around it is important this week. Second, obviously, they can play grassy terrain games with Thwackey setting the terrain, Chestnut maybe exploiting it, along with maybe Grassy Seed's unburdened Sneasler. And Chestnut is a serious threat to set up with something like Swords Dance or Belly Drum, especially with fake-out support from either or both of these guys. So the terrain control is a very serious option for them as well. Of course, I play toward electric terrain sometimes, so that's something they might want to consider. Third observation, they had the first overall pick in this draft, and as I mentioned before, they took Incineroar. Incineroar, of course, is one of the best Pokemon in the whole game. And it also is pretty strong into my team. I mean, it's a pretty good answer to Iron Leaves. It can get off Intimidate into my mostly physical attacking team. And I don't have a ton of ways to target its weaknesses on the special side. So that's a significant threat as well. Otherwise, they have, as I've mentioned, very strong setup options. Chestnut getting Belly Drum, and I think Swords Dance. Corviknight, of course, can set up with Bulk Up. Poltegeist gets Shell Smash, and they have a lot of possible fake-out users to enable them to get something like that off, plus possible disruption from Unburdened Sneasler and the like. So it's an interesting team. They also, of course, have both Sneasler and Weavile. I don't have a competitive observation about that. I just think it's neat. So I built my team this week way more quickly than last time, which I'm not saying is a good thing. I don't mean to say that it's easy. I don't know that I feel great about how much less time I spent calcing, but the first thing that I had to think about in this matchup, of course, was that I kind of wanted to bring Slowpoke. It's the Slowpoke Showdown. What, am I going to not bring it? Well, I thought about not bringing it. I went back and forth a fair bit, actually, as I dug deeper into the matchup. But I actually do see a competitive case here, and so, sure enough, our first Pokemon to look at is Slowpoke. This nickname is definitely over the character limit on Showdown. We'll deal with that. But it's an imprisoned Trick Room Slowpoke to try to prevent them from setting that up. Of course, being weak to Poltegeist's Ghost Stab isn't ideal for this, but we do have the Terra Dragon, which at least eliminates that weakness, though it doesn't turn into a resistance. But it does eliminate the Grass and Electric weaknesses against things like Chestnut, Thwackey, and Electivire, while keeping a lot of resistances against other threats on his team, like Camerupt and what water type do they have? They don't have a water type. Well, but they're two fire types and the like. It's a very physically bulky set because they mostly have physical offense on their team. A little bit of special defense EVs are meant to help Slowpoke take a Shadow Ball or maybe something from a special Electivire. At least give it a fighting chance. The 21 speed IV guarantees that Slowpoke is slower than Glastrier, so that it can get off a Chilling Water under Trick Room, while at the same time hopefully speed creeping a minimum speed Galarian Slowpoke so I can get the Imprison off before it potentially tries to imprison me itself. Chilling Water gives Slowpoke something to attack with, while again being a way to nerf a lot of the physical offense on the opposing side, and Slack Off can hopefully help Slowpoke stay on the field, especially with this extremely bulky set. Next up we have Sylveon. Fairy type attacks are pretty spammable into my opponent's team, though they do have Camerupt and Corviknight as resistances that need serious attention. Camerupt being a dangerous attacker in this format, and Corviknight a threat to set up, something that I don't want to just let it do. They, of course, also have Incineroar for another fire type, but it doesn't resist Fairy. But yeah, the spread Hyper Voice, barring a Chestnut wide guard, is very strong into most of their team, and I do, of course, have a couple other moves tailor-made to counter the counters. Weather Ball is because, as you'll see in a little bit, I'm bringing Rain this week, so I can get off that water-type attack into Camerupt or Incineroar if the situation calls for it. And then I have Terra Fire, of course, nicely covering Sylveon's weaknesses, along with Terra Blast to hit Corviknight. A little bit of anti-synergy with Rain, but we'll do what we can with that. We could go for Weather Ball in Rain instead of Terra Blast. But Terra Blast also, of course, with Pixelate, is a Fairy-type attack before Terra, so it gives me a single-target Fairy attack to get around a possible wide guard from Chestnut. Serves two purposes there. I didn't feel like I needed a super bulky set this week. This one is calced to take ice-type hits from Glastrier and Weavile. It doesn't take Heavy Slam from Glastrier, but I'm not sure any Sylveon set does. It would have taken a ton of investment, and even then I don't think it would have worked. But I didn't even try because I wasn't willing to put that much into it. Of course, we do resist Heavy Slam and Icicle Crash after a Terra Fire, but I have that little bit of extra bulk to take the stab attacks from some of their main offensive threats. And I felt like I could otherwise, of course, get the HP up and then pump a bunch into special attack to get off really strong Fairy-type attacks. And hopefully run through their team pretty quickly. Joining Sylveon in that mission is its A-tier synergy partner, Iron Treads. This week carrying the Booster Energy, once again with a set that is designed to boost speed at minimal cost to the attack stat, so 188 speed EVs in Jolly Nature means its speed is 1 point higher than its attack, even with 252 in attack. This way it is going faster than unboosted Weavile or Sneasler. I have the Ground Stab, I have the Steel Stab, I have Volt Switch to get out of, say, a Corviknight matchup. I don't think it's going to do much to Corviknight, even though it's super effective, but I can pivot to something that can do more. Again, I don't want to give Corviknight free setup. And then I wanted to fit Protect on this set somewhere, but I think Steel Roller is worth keeping instead. It is, of course, a much stronger Steel-type attack than Iron Head that clears their grassy terrain if they do bring that this week. The only cost is that I can only use it while terrain is up. So I even thought about carrying Steel Roller and not Iron Head, but given that they have threats like Chestnut that resist ground, I think I want to have resist ground and resist Volt Switch for what that's actually worth. I want to have something strong that I can use into that in a clutch situation, so keeping both Iron Head and Steel Roller I think is the move, even though it comes at the cost of Protect. Terra Fire me because Terra Fire, so they have a lot of grass and ice attacks on their team, which Iron Treads isn't weak to, but also doesn't resist. Terra Fire gives it those resistances while also covering its fire weakness against Incineroar and against Camerupt, turning those into resistances. Of course, it doesn't turn the ground weakness into a resistance, but can't fix everything with a Terra type. But there's, but Iron Treads is here to get off strong neutral hits on the physical side next to Sylveon, getting them off with its Fairy type special attacks, and those two can pivot back and forth to an extent. Next, finally, of course, we haven't left our S+ tier Pokemon. It's Thundurus. You might have probably guessed that I didn't bring Electric Terrain, considering the Booster Energy on Iron Treads. It is a Rain Dance set this time, but it is the least bulky Thundurus that I've brought yet this season. Again, I gave it some defense investment to at least give it a chance of taking an ice attack from something like a Glastrier or a Weavile. I don't think this guarantee survives anything, but it at least is a chance. But I also gave it a little more offensive investment than I have in the past, and I have finally brought out the Terra-Flying Terra Blast, because for all that I've talked about not wanting Corviknight to set up for free, I also don't want to let Chestnut have a Belly Drum for free. Covert Cloak means that they can't deny me Rain Dance with Fake Out. They also can't deny me something like a Flying Terra Blast into a Chestnut that is trying to set up just by faking out my Thundurus. And if they try that, it's going to turn out badly for them. I felt like I had room for Protect this week. Of course, Thunderous has, I've mentioned every week, had a lot of 4 move slot syndrome, and it's hard to find room for Protect on it, but I don't really feel like I need a Scary Face or Thunder Wave kind of move this time. I could have brought Electric Terrain as well, but it doesn't feel necessary with the Steel Roller, Iron Treads, and nothing else on my team really exploiting that. Wild Bolt Storm, of course, denies free setup to the Corviknight, as long as they don't put it next to Wide Guard Chestnut. If they do that, I guess I try to nuke the Chestnut and then deal with the Corviknight. But yeah, Electric and Flying coverage together is very strong into their main possible setup threats, and of course Thunderous being a special attacker, it's not worried about Incineroar's Intimidate, nor is it worried about Incineroar's Fake Out with the Covert Cloak. With Rain Dance, I can nerf, Flare Blitz, so it's pretty strong into Incineroar overall, or rather, it's not very disrupted by Incineroar, or by Thwackey, considering that it resists Grass, while it takes out their main setup threats. And with the Rain Dance, it also can set up for my 5th Pokemon this week, Barraskewda. So Barraskewda really only works if I don't let them get Trick Room off, which is, again, largely what Slowpoke is here to do, although there is one other thing that we'll see in a moment. I don't know that Barraskewda... So first of all, Barraskewda with Swift Swim and Rain is faster than anything, even Unburdened Sneasler. I don't know that it really needs the Clear Amulet. I considered just slapping a Life Orb on it like before, but considering that they do have a strong Intimidate user that I think they absolutely 101% will bring to this matchup, I think the Clear Amulet is fine, especially since the Rain will buff most of Barraskewda's attacks anyway. This one has a lot of speed investment, so that outside of Rain, it's faster than Unboosted Sneasler and Weavile. If I could have been faster than one of those with an Adamant Nature, I probably would have done it, but this is it does need a Jolly Nature to outspeed both, so I thought, sure, might as well do that. And this is the, in terms of moves, this is the exact same set I ran before, but this time the Terra type is Flying instead of Fairy. Terra Flying, Terra Blast, of course, targets the double weakness on Chestnut, targets Thwackey, although Barraskewda most likely wants to switch out if it's facing Thwackey, but there may be a situation where I feel differently. But that's what the Terra... Those are the main things that handle water attacks, and so they're what the Terra Blast is here to pick up. Otherwise, I just pivot with Flip Turn. I can pivot out of Electivire into Iron Treads. I can pivot out of a Grass type into maybe Thunderous or just somebody bulky, because their Grass types don't hit that hard without setting up. But yeah, Barraskewda is here to do a lot of damage very quickly if I win the speed control game. And just takes advantage of the Rain that I kind of want to bring anyway, because it synergizes... Yeah, it synergizes with the Rain that I kind of want to bring anyway because of the Wild Bolt Storm accuracy buff, because it gives Sylveon a water type without having to run Terra Water. It even buffs Slowpoke's Chilling Water. We'll see if that matters. For the last Pokemon, it took me a fair bit of thinking, and I especially felt weird about leaving behind Iron Leaves, which has been the clear MVP so far. I had Iron Leaves penciled in for a while, but I am instead going with Mismagius. With a similar set to last time, actually not that similar, it just is a choice set again. This time it's a choice Scarf, so that with no speed investment it can outspeed Weavile and Unboosted Sneasler. I thought about running a little bit of speed investment anyway to creep some kind of boosting threat, but it just didn't seem that worthwhile. But the other thing that I can do with the Choice Scarf and with Trick, I've talked a lot about how they have a couple of Trick Room setters that they might want to use to win the speed control game, but that are not especially strong. In Galarian, Slowpoke, and Poltegeist, I can trick a Scarf onto those to punish Trick Room setup or any other support tech that they try to use with those. I also can trick a Scarf onto something like Chestnut or Corviknight so that it can't set up on me. I do have other ways to try to maintain momentum and prevent those Pokemon from snowballing, but Mismagius is a pretty strong lead option in certain situations, or I can have it in the back to really disrupt any attempt that they have to set something up on their side. So that's the main reason that I like this Pokemon in this matchup. Shadow Ball is a strong move that's spammable in pretty much any matchup. Of course, not so much when they have Incineroar. And by the way, they also could be running Bulletproof Chestnut. But we have the coverage moves tailor-made to deal with those. So Power Gem is, of course, super effective into Incineroar and into Weavile. I thought about running Terra Fighting Terra Blast already, but then I noticed Power Gem does almost the same thing, except Weavile doesn't have a double weakness, just a regular one. And I don't have to commit the Terra to use it, so that seems a lot better here. Psychic, I thought a lot about what to put in this third move slot. I had Will-O-Wisp penciled in for a while. That's kind of an emergency button into a physical attacker that would give something slower like Sylveon a chance to get an attack off. But again, I really don't want to let Chestnut snowball a game. So Chestnut resists Power Gem, and if it runs Bulletproof, it's immune to Shadow Ball. So I feel like Mismagius needs something to hit it. So Psychic is only here for that. I think this almost always clicks Shadow Ball if it's not clicking Trick, and I think it clicks Trick for the most part early and often. Finally, Terra Ghost, because I just didn't see a need for a defensive Terra type here. Obviously, Weavile is an offensive threat. Incineroar kind of is too, but with the Choice Scarf, Speed Control, I decided, it just seemed better most of the time in this set to get off the strongest Shadow Ball possible. I do have modest max special attack, but I'm running Scarf instead of Specs, so I can get the extra power from a Terra Ghost instead if I don't feel like I need to use my Terra somewhere else. So that's the team this week. Like I said, I don't know how I feel about it. We'll see. I'm a little suspicious of how quickly this one came together, but I do like that I found room for Slowpoke, and I hope the Slowpoke will get a chance to show what it can do. But I'm not going to bring it if the situation isn't right, and we'll see what kind of situation we get when we get to the battle. Alright, let's go. Slowpoke fast. He didn't bring his Slowpoke, though, which, in turn, makes it less likely that I'll actually bring mine to a game. That's okay. Thwackey, Incineroar, Sneasler, Weavile, Corviknight, Poltegeist. Oh, got to say the good luck, have fun, of course. Poltegeist is his other Trick Room setter, but this does not look to me like a team that's going to use Trick Room. I think the Thwackey and Unburdened Sneasler combination is fairly likely. There's a very real risk. I think Weavile gets Fake Out, right? So there's a very real risk of some setup stuff with the Corviknight and literally 4 possible Fake Out users. I have the Covert Cloak on Thunderous, right? There's not much stopping me from getting a Rain Dance up. I guess the Weavile is a threat. I can lead Thunderous Sylveon or Thunderous Iron Treads or Thunderous Barraskewda is interesting. Maybe not into a Thwackey lead. I don't like Mismagius that much here. Actually, I mean, the Fake Out immunity plus the potential to trick the Scarf onto Corviknight is, or even onto Thwackey, is worth thinking about. I don't hate Mismagius here, but I don't think Mismagius is a Game 1 play. I think I lead Thunderous for sure. And if I'm bringing these next 3, then... Let's lead Thunderous Barraskewda, and we'll bring Iron Treads and Sylveon in the back. And we'll consider Mismagius for later games. They lead Thwackey Sneasler. Is it Grassy Seed Sneasler? It sure is. Well, we saw that coming. I can get a safe Rain Dance, though, and just protect Barraskewda. On their Fake Out, yep. Oh, and they go right for the Wood Hammer. That's going to do a lot of damage, even if I Terrestrialize Barraskewda. I think... I mean, I have 2 Terraflying Mons here. I can Terraflying either one and try to get a big hit off. I can try to pivot out with Barraskewda. But I might have to worry about a Grassy Glide, which is a case for Terraflying Barraskewda. Let's Wild Bolt Storm and Terraflying Terra Blast. The Sneasler. Try to get rid of it. Grassy Glide does about a quarter. And this should... Oh, course, Sneasler goes before Thunderous. That was obvious. Yeah, I don't know if I like that play, because now I don't have Thunderous' Terra Blast for the rest of the set. Nor even Sylveon's as a Fire-type move. But I'll go Sylveon here, as we traded Barraskewda for Sneasler. Not the worst thing. Thunderous doesn't have much to do at this point except Wild Bolt Storm and Sylveon Hyper Voice. Yeah, I might have played myself into a corner. I think I was better off terrestrializing Thunderous. Well... And then what? Hard switch to something? Maybe. Whoa, that Wood Hammer does way too much damage. And it's Shell Smash Poltegeist. Yeah, I don't think I have the tools for that right now. It's going to be faster than my Iron Treads, probably. There's Wild Bolt Storm and go for a Steel Roller into Poltegeist. I switch to Incineroar. Protect the Poltegeist. That's not ideal for me, to say the least. Paralyzing the Incineroar is kind of nice. And here I will fish for the para on Poltegeist. I don't have Protect on Iron Treads, if I am just now reminded. So actually I'll just go for the Steel Roller again. As they do let me have it. Hold on. Bulk up Incineroar. Okay. They're gaming. I think it's worth it to get the Rain Dance back up to improve our chances of taking a Flare Blitz. And just try to high horsepower into the Incineroar. They can stop me with Fake Out. They do. Let's see. They just go for Bulk Up again. This might not be over. I think. Wild Bolt Storm. I'll try again to high horsepower the Incineroar. Surely Iron Treads is faster than Thwackey. So it has to go for Grassy Glide, which is not that strong. As we miss the high horsepower. Oh no. We do get the para on Thwackey, and they go for Power Trip and knock out Iron Treads. And I think I need some fortune to win it from here. But are we getting it? Oh, we get the clutch full para on the Incineroar. Feels bad for my opponent. They should have had this one. But I think we'll have this one instead. They can stall out the rain if they get the double protect, and then I can miss Wild Bolt Storm after that. But obviously the odds are in my favor. And we take game one. Let's be honest, by luck. So I want a more solid answer this game. I want to look back, actually. No, the Thwackey was definitely not choiced. It was switching moves. It just hits that hard. Okay. That Bulk Up Incineroar is a problem, actually. I mean, Thunderous Lead is still good. We did kind of see the limits of it there, but... What about Thunderous Lead? I still don't like Mismagius that much here. Terrafire, Iron Treads, Terrafire, Sylveon. Let's lead Thunderous Sylveon this time and bring the same 4 Pokemon. Mismagius is still just really iffy into their 2 Dark types. Same lead from my opponent, as I can just get the Rain up again and Detect. And assuming they don't switch out, I can Terrafire, Hyper Voice next turn. Wild Bolt Storm. Wait, hold on. Here's the thing. I kept lamenting that I didn't Terror the Thunderous last game. I think, you know what, I think I still don't Terror the Thunderous. I don't have that much offensive investment in it. We saw how little Wild Bolt Storm was doing damage-wise last game. I think it might actually have been in its best role sitting here and just spamming that attack. So a Wild Bolt Storm and Terrifier Hyper Voice. Coaching Sneasler, very nice. That resisted Woodhammer still does so much damage. And Hyper Voice does not enough back. But here, I should be pretty safe to detect Sylveon, get a bit of recovery, and get off another Wild Bolt Storm. Right? Should be doable. Flying Sneasler. So the Wild Bolt Storm is going to knock it out as they double into Sylveon and hit the detect. And that's 2 KOs right there, and a strong start to game 2. This time they brought Weavile and Corviknight. Interesting. I kind of just want a Wild Bolt Storm again. And Hyper Voice to try to get rid of the Weavile. They go right for Ice Spinner. Does a lot of damage, but it doesn't KO. Bulk up Corviknight. Saw that one coming. And we're just doing too much damage here, and we're going to take this game. If we hadn't been so lucky in Game 1, this would have made for an interesting Game 3 situation. But as it is, that's the set. GG's. Sometimes you win by luck, or sometimes you win by skill, or just play into the right position. And sometimes other things happen, and that's the game. But I'm going to grab these replays, get them to the Discord, and I'll definitely acknowledge what happened in that Game 1 to my opponent. But hey, we're 3-0. Feeling pretty good about the season so far. See you next time.